What's up guys, Aaron Bennett here. Welcome to the video. Crypto.com, Chris Marszalek just did an Ask Me Anything on YouTube. I'm going to dive into it and explain exactly what he said. What is the future of this platform? So Chris starts out by saying he is personally shocked about what happened with FTX, and he believes this will set the industry back a couple of years. So Chris says this is no longer a time to trust people and believe people at their word. We want action. Chris says he launched into providing audited proof of reserves, which is going to be coming out more and more, and he says that is important to regain trust. So Chris said they released this proof of reserves immediately when this FTX thing happened because, again, people want transparency right now, and I was very supportive of this when they released it, and I'm looking at the net worth right here. This has stayed pretty constant over the last couple days. I think it's dropped a little bit, but that's natural. People are still kind of scared right now, but I am pretty happy to see that the user assets have stayed similar to where they were a few days ago. So he starts off by saying that Crypto.com is the most regulated exchange in the entire crypto space with the highest number of licenses and registrations from Tier 1 jurisdictions from all around the world. And Chris also says that they lead the crypto market in terms of privacy and security registrations as well. He lists a few. I've been covering Crypto.com for about 3 years now, and I have basically covered all of these stories, and they certainly do have a lot of registrations. So he says compliance, privacy, and security, they are number one in the world. In addition, they said they have been acting in regulation since day one. They are the largest Visa partner, and they have always been a stable, regulated business. So he next talks about the difference between them and FTX. He starts out by saying they have 70 million people who downloaded the app from all around the world, and their business model is simple. They get paid fees when people trade, when they buy and sell cryptocurrency. In 2021 and 2022, they generated over $1 billion in revenue. So more about how they're different than FTX. They said Crypto.com never did any irresponsible lending practices or taking third-party risks. Chris said they are not a hedge fund and do not trade customer assets, and they always keep a one-to-one proof of reserves, which he says will be proven soon. FTX, on the other hand, he says has around 100,000 customers, and mostly they are professional traders. He says it's just a completely different business model where Crypto.com has, he says, 70 million people that downloaded the wallet. Most are not professional traders, and I would agree to this. Most people are just using the debit card, or they use it just to buy their first little bit of crypto because you can sync it to your bank account very, very easily. So he's doing a good job of separating what FTX is, what their business model is, how they made money, versus Crypto.com, which he says, again, is a very, very simple business. They get fees when you buy, sell, and trade crypto. So what is he going to do moving forward? Chris says that they'll continue operating the same way, in a compliant way, and they will prove the naysayers wrong. Now, I really like what he says. He promotes people downloading and using the DeFi wallet. He says this is a way for people to hold their own keys, and 5 million people have downloaded the wallet. Now, I want to pause. I made a video yesterday saying that I'm going to be removing my crypto from the DeFi wallet, and I just want to correct some things that I said in that video that were incorrect. One, I said that Crypto.com can freeze your wallet. That is true, but apparently so can other DeFi wallets as well. But as long as you hold your keys, the 12 or 24 words that they give you, even if Crypto.com decides to freeze your wallet or cancel your wallet, or another self-custody wallet does the same thing potentially, you can still get access to that crypto as long as you have those words. You can go to another custodian, another DeFi wallet. For example, you can take your keys, I believe, from the Crypto.com DeFi wallet and use that to open up a MetaMask account, and all of your crypto from the DeFi wallet will be in MetaMask. I haven't tried that, but somebody mentioned that in the comments, but I know that is how it works when you want to move from one wallet to the next when you use your seed phrase. So he already answered this, but somebody asked him, how are you different than FTX? So he starts out by saying Crypto.com is a brokerage. They make money from taking fees when, again, you buy, sell, or transact. That, he says, is about 95% of their business. He says they also take fees on the exchange as well, with a lot of high volume transactions and professional traders. He says Crypto.com focuses on retail access to now over 70 million people, and he emphasizes again that they are not a hedge fund and they are not mixing customer funds and they are not doing irresponsible lending practices, essentially talking about what FTX was doing and also a little bit jabbing at what Celsius was doing as well. The next question, what are Crypto.com's main sources of income and profit? He says, again, charging fees to retail. He makes this very, very clear that they make their money by charging fees. He also says that Crypto.com Pay is also a revenue source where they work with merchants. The next question is, can you elaborate on the details of what will be included in the audit you are preparing? And Chris starts out by saying it will prove that every single user deposit is backed by what they have in reserves. So the assets and the liabilities will match. What the users have on the Crypto.com account will be matched by what Crypto.com has in reserves. That is what he is saying. So he says that they are wanting to get this published within 30 days. Chris says that if there is a way to publish it now, they would, but these are not crypto companies that are doing this. They don't work, as he calls it, in crypto time. These things just take time to get published accurately. So Chris says something very interesting, and I completely agree. He says right now, every single exchange with a good amount of volume is going to have to provide a proof of reserves like what Crypto.com is going to do. He says really that is the only way that this industry will move forward, where people will begin to trust centralized exchanges again. The next question is, why is 20% of your reserves in SHIB token? People were concerned about that, and I was before I realized what he's about to say and why it makes sense. And what he says is that those are client funds. That is not Crypto.com's money. And that is the distinguishing factor here. The 20% in SHIB is not Crypto.com saying, hey, what coin should we buy to back up our company or to booster our balance sheet? That's not how this works. The 20% is literally what their customers purchased and what they are actually holding inside of their wallets. The next question, have you stopped withdrawals? Chris is like, absolutely not. We have not stopped withdrawals. That is fundamental for the health of an exchange or a wallet, obviously. He says they are operating with a much higher level of volume of trading transactions. He says that is bringing more revenue to Crypto.com, but they have not stopped withdrawals. It may take a little bit longer. There may be a little bit more backlog, but the withdrawals are going through. And what I have seen on Twitter with people sending me messages is that the withdrawals are working just fine. He does say, though, that customer service tickets, because of all the excess volume and activity, have been backlogged a little bit more, so expect there to be a longer wait time for that. And he says if you have any questions about the status of withdrawals or anything on the platform, go here to status.crypto.com and it will tell you exactly what is happening with the platform. So currently, right now, they are monitoring Gala, SRM, Ray trading deposits, and withdrawals paused. So I believe that two of these are very heavily tied to FTX, so that is not surprising to me. But take a look at all of the other operations. We have the wallet, the app, the exchange. Everything right now is operational, and you can scroll back over the last week or so and see if there are any issues that happened. So now he talks about the people on Twitter who are claiming that they are in financial trouble. Chris, you can tell, gets a little bit heated and emotional. He says this is not the first time they have been under attack, and he will prove in the coming weeks and months that they are totally fine. They have the one-to-one reserves, and their balance sheet is looking great. Chris says he looks forward to proving all of these people wrong. The next question, did Crypto.com have exposure to Luna? He says no. They had no exposure to Luna. They never lent to third parties, and they don't currently lend to third parties. They have zero counterparty risk, and they have zero exposure to UST as well. He said they never even listed UST, this is the algorithmic stablecoin tied to Luna, on their platforms. So now, why do they send $1 billion in stablecoins to FTX? Well, Chris says that they recovered everything minus $10 million. That is their net exposure to FTX. Now, why were they exposed to FTX? Well, he explains that certain coins, SRM and Ray, two coins that are heavily linked to FTX, which right now they are not trading because they want to slowly delist it from their accounts and exchanges. They were partly traded on FTX. So Chris says when somebody makes a trade, they will find which market has the most liquidity and the lowest fees. And for certain tokens and at certain times, FTX was what they used for, again, certain tokens. So Chris explains that he wants their own exchange to grow and grow so they have enough liquidity so they don't need to rely on any other exchange or any other players in the space. He wants to keep it all under the Crypto.com umbrella where he knows exactly what's going on behind the scenes, and again, he doesn't need to rely or trust anybody else. The next question, does Crypto.com use their native token CRO as collateral for loans, just like FTX used their native token FTT to take loans out using FTT as collateral? Chris says no. Not once have they done that, and he reminds people that they've even burned 70 billion CRO tokens, and that was announced a few years ago. The next question, what are your liabilities? Because now they've just shown their assets, and that was my question as well. He says that assets are very, very easy to disclose, but with the audit, that will disclose all of the liabilities, and that'll come out within the next few weeks. So next, Chris says that they have a very, very strong balance sheet, and they have never had to raise money, and they don't plan on doing so in the future. He then talks about the DeFi wallet and how he is very, very supportive of the notion of decentralization and owning your own money, taking control of your finances. And again, I really applaud Chris for saying that, because right now, so much of Twitter and YouTube, myself included, is like, get your money out of centralized exchanges, take ownership of your crypto, and hold your own keys. And Chris is saying, do it. Do it with our wallet. I mean, obviously, it's his wallet, so to do transactions, you have to pay in CRO, so it does benefit Crypto.com, and that's fine. So if you want to use the DeFi wallet in Crypto.com, go for it. If you want to go somewhere else, whatever, that's fine too. But I really appreciate that he is not saying, keep all your money on the app on your phone that is centralized. He's like, no, actually, if you want, and if you are responsible enough to do so, go ahead and move your money into your DeFi app. So the next thing he talks about is Crypto Earn. How do they generate yield? Well, what he says is it's a great tool for onboarding new users. So he's not saying that Crypto Earn independently generates yield, which is totally okay. But he does say that it is a way to attract new users to the platform, which I agree with. Now, what he does say is that he has cut, or Crypto.com has cut the yields many, many times. And I have been making videos about this for years, as you guys know, or many of you guys know. And every time they cut yields on the earn, I'm making a video saying, this sucks, whatever. Every time they cut the benefits for the debit cards, I'm like, this sucks. But why they do that is so they stay cash flow positive. They're not going to keep paying yields and benefits and rewards to people, even if it is putting them in the negative and they are losing money and it is bad for their business. So as unpopular as those rate cuts are, he says, which indeed they have been very unpopular in the community, he's doing it so they don't go out of business and they want to stay sustainable. The next question, how the heck do you afford all of this marketing? So for example, he says the UFC deal is a 10-year deal. The Crypto.com arena is a 20-year deal. That means they are paying a little bit every single year for these deals. This isn't just like a ton of money, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars up front. And he says these are investments for their brand awareness over the long term. And he says that their marketing like this is just 10% of their revenue. And he says that is actually not that high. Other companies are spending a lot more in terms of percent of their revenue for marketing. And he says this is very, very manageable. The next question, where do you see Crypto.com in the next 5 years? He says the entire industry must work very hard to restore trust. He says that Crypto.com wants to be the trusted and responsible player that is fully transparent. He says right now it's painful, but removing the bad actors from the industry is very important. He says that bear markets are good for building because there is no hype, there must be real revenue, and there must be actual product market fit. And he says all of this will help Crypto.com during the next bull market and the next adoption cycle. So somebody asked, will you ever make the rewards on the credit cards better? And he says that they must balance the revenues that the company brings in with the expenditures on rewards. But he does say that when the market comes back, he will improve the rewards on the debit cards again, which I am very happy about because, man, those rewards got slashed a few months ago. And you know how I feel about it. Right now, the cards are not as great as they used to be, but I am happy that Chris is talking about improving the rewards when the next bull market happens and when their revenues start picking up again. So somebody asked the question about the $400 million transfer that Crypto.com sent to Gate.io. So here's what Chris had to say about that. He said, all addresses are whitelisted and pre-approved, and this was their corporate account with Gate.io. So Crypto.com could always get that money back. They could always withdraw that money. They just had to ask Gate.io to, I guess, increase their limits because it was such a large transfer. But again, he said they could always get that money back. And he said there is no way that they would send money to somebody or to an account that they cannot get back. That's what he's saying. He says they are strengthening their processes so this does not happen again. And this had nothing to do with the Gate.io's proof of reserves, and this was going around on Twitter a lot. Essentially, Gate.io did their proof of reserves like a day or two after they got that money from Crypto.com, and some people were speculating that they were using that money to boost their proof of reserves statement, but Chris and Gate.io on Twitter said that no, that is not what happened, and Gate.io did not use the Crypto.com money in order to boost their proof of reserves. The last thing he said is that they are still going to be at FIFA World Cup. They will have 5 billion people or so watching, and this will hopefully help rebuild a little bit of trust. So what are my final thoughts with this, just to sum this up? Well, as always, I have never wanted Crypto.com to fail. I've been a huge bull over the last 3 years, basically in a super bull over the last few years. And the last couple videos, granted, I have just gotten very spooked by what's gone on with Celsius and Voyager, BlockFi, FTX, all these other companies and exchanges and lending platforms. And, you know, I apologize if it was like super FUD or whatever, but it was just me going through what I was experiencing. This video certainly was an excellent video that Chris did. I'm really glad he did this. He is really on top of staying in front of the narrative for everything going on. So honestly, I'm still very, very bullish. If they can pull out of this, wow, they are going to be a top 2, top 3 exchange. And I believe the price of Crow will do insanely well in the next bull market because all their competitors are going to leave. I mean, maybe a couple will remain. But again, if they're a top 2, top 3 exchange, they're going to do insanely well the next bull market, guys. So to sum up, if Crypto.com pulls out of this, they will do incredibly well. But I am still going to encourage people to self-custody their crypto, whether that's with the Crypto.com DeFi wallet or a hardware wallet, something where you don't leave it on centralized exchanges. I don't think that right now is just the best time to do that. I will end the video with that. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Till next time, talk with you soon, and bye for now.